Have you ever stopped and wondered if our super clean, super modern world is, well, actually making us sick? It's a real question, especially with rates of allergies and autoimmune diseases just skyrocketing. And the answer scientists are starting to uncover is not what you'd expect.
So, let me just start by asking you this, straight up. Would you willingly swallow parasitic worms if it could cure a chronic disease? I know, it sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, but this one idea is challenging pretty much everything we thought we knew about our immune systems.
And look, this isn't just some crazy hypothetical. It's really happening. Researchers are running clinical trials and finding that, yes, believe it or not, getting infected with certain types of parasitic worms can actually protect people from inflammatory diseases. This is real science, and the results are just mind-blowing.
This whole practice actually has a name. It's called helminth therapy. It's a cutting-edge experimental treatment being looked at for some of the absolute toughest chronic conditions we have, like Crohn's disease and allergies so severe they can ruin your life. But to get why this might even work, we've got to rewind a little.
So why on earth would infecting ourselves with anything be a good idea? Well, it all goes back to an idea you've probably heard of before, sometimes called the too clean theory.
Officially, it's called the hygiene hypothesis. And way back in 1989, a doctor named David Strachan noticed something kind of strange. Kids who grew up in big families, who were obviously sharing more germs and colds, actually had fewer allergies. So the theory was, maybe our immune systems, without enough germs to fight, just get, well, kind of bored and start overreacting to harmless stuff.
And you can literally watch this correlation play out over the past century. As soon as things like sanitation and antibiotics become common, bam, you see the rates of inflammatory diseases just start climbing. It seemed like a really clear connection, but it wasn't the whole story.
And this is where the theory gets a major upgrade. It turns out the problem isn't just a lack of random germs. The real answer is way more precise. It's about the absence of very specific organisms. It's not about being dirty, it's about revisiting our old friends. Now, this is the key difference, so lean in for this. The old hygiene hypothesis said our immune system is just understimulated, right? It's bored. The new old friends hypothesis says no, that's not it. Our immune system isn't bored, it's misfiring. It's missing its fundamental programming because we've eliminated the very organisms we spent thousands of years evolving right alongside.
So who are these so-called old friends? Well, we're not talking about the flu or the common cold. We're talking about the ancient, constant companions of humanity, microbes from the soil, the huge variety of bacteria in our gut, and yes, even helminths, those parasitic worms, which used to be a completely normal part of the human body.
So what was their job? This is the crucial part. These old friends weren't just harmless passengers. They were playing an active role in our biology, almost like immune system peacemakers.
Here's a really simple way to picture it. An immune system that grows up in a totally sterile world is like a trigger-happy soldier who sees danger everywhere, in pollen, in a peanut, even in its own body's cells. Our old friends are the veteran trainers who step in and teach that soldier discipline, teach it when to stand down. And here's how it works. Biologically, when your body recognizes an old friend, it doesn't declare all-out war. Instead, it activates these crucial peacemaker cells called regulatory T cells, or Tregs. These Tregs then pump out powerful anti-inflammatory molecules, basically telling the rest of the immune system to take it easy. This is what creates tolerance, stopping it from overreacting. And without these peacemakers, our immune systems are kind of flying blind. The scale of this loss is just massive. Get this, today, about 2 billion people, a quarter of everyone on the planet, still live with helminths. For almost all of human history, that wasn't the exception. That was the rule for everyone. So what happens when they're gone? Let's talk about the consequences of creating this sterile, modern world where we've basically evicted all our old friends.
The data from around the globe shows this really stark pattern. In places where these organisms are still common, rates of allergies and autoimmune diseases are incredibly low. But in wealthy, sanitized nations where we've gotten rid of them, those same diseases are absolutely rampant. It's a mirror image.
And we can actually see this happen with something called the immigrant effect. When people move from a country where they had high exposure to these old friends to a super clean country, their personal risk of developing these inflammatory diseases goes up.
And the really fascinating part? The risk is highest for their kids, which tells you that early life exposure is absolutely critical for programming the immune system correctly. So how did we get into this mess? It was a perfect storm of modern life, really. We moved into cities, away from dirt and regular contact with animals. We cleaned up our water supply. We started using antibiotics frequently, which can wipe out our gut bacteria. Even our diets and smaller family sizes played a role. It all added up to this huge separation from our old microbial partners.
And this is where it gets even crazier. The fallout from losing our old friends might go way beyond just physical health. There's new research that suggests this exact same immune system problem is also linked to our mental health. It could be contributing to a higher risk for depression and even making us less resilient to stress.
So that leaves us with this massive question, doesn't it? Obviously, we can't just go back to the way things were, and we wouldn't want to. So as our world gets cleaner and cleaner, how do we find a way to intentionally rebuild this ancient, essential alliance for the sake of our own health?